Hey folks, and welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. Well, why is it named America? People are told a story that it was named America after Amerigo Vespucci, and as a friend of Christopher Columbus's, but as we all know now, the only thing Christopher Columbus discovered that he was lost. He named them Indians because he thought he was in freaking India, and we still name them Indian, which is a slap in their face. How many other lies have they told us that are simply not true? Oh, Columbus proved the earth was not flat, they tell us as well, right? They told us that marijuana was bad for us. It's curing cancer. They've told us lies after lies after lies, folks, and it's all been a lie. Everything's been a lie. The Knights of Columbus discovered Christopher Columbus, basically brought him to the forefront in the 1930s. Here's Bush and I don't know who that is, the Knights of Columbus and whatnot, and you notice it's in the seals of everywhere with these hashies, these caning rods. They're called lycors with the caning rods and the axeman's hench. It's on the Lincoln Memorial. It's on the back of the dime. It's also on the State of the Union where the president gives his address. They're caning rods, folks, and an axeman's hench. If you don't like the laws they're making, they're going to chop off their heads. All right, this is what they symbolize, and it's been that way ever since Columbus. Here, listen to Columbus and the history of him, a short history. But before that, I just want to make one more statement here. America. Whenever anybody says America, it's a continent, folks. It's not the Americans that mean the people in the United States, which they sell to us all the time. America the beautiful, America the great, make America great again. We're dissing all our fellow Americans, like Central Americans, like South Americans, like Canadians, due to our arrogance and our ignorance. Our arrogance and our ignorance. It's not America. We're all Americans, including the whole continent. All right, let's get into Mr. Columbus here. So the reality of history, his story, is it's all been about domination by the religious group, the Vatican, and then Jesuits. And let's get into that a little bit more. Revisionist history of Christopher Columbus. Columbus really never set foot in North America, folks, even though we've been told that Columbus discovered America. Closest he got to the mainland of North America was Puerto Rico. In the aftermath of Columbus's voyage, John Cabot sailed from Bristol, England, which in turn opened the way for the first colony in Jamestown, Virginia, and allowed the English to claim America as their own. Jamestown is where Andrew White, which the White House is named after, the first Archbishop of Northern California, of United States, and also that Jamestown, Virginia, the ship sailing over, was called the Freemason. That should give you an idea what came over to settle the United States. Columbus Day was known in the United States, was invented by the Knights of Columbus, a Catholic fraternal service organization. Back in the 1930s, they were looking for a Catholic hero as a role model. In 1934, the result of lobbying by the Knights of Columbus, Congress and FDR, the traitor, signed Columbus Day into a law as a federal holiday to honor his courageous explorer, or so we thought. Secondly, Columbus was not a hero. When he set foot on the sandy beach in the Bahamas on October 12, 1492, Columbus discovered that the islands were inhabited by friendly, peaceful people called the Lucayans, the Tainos, and the Arawaks. Writing in his diary, Columbus said they were handsome, smart, and kind people. He noted that the gentle Arawaks were remarkable for their hospitality. They offered to share with anyone, and when you asked for something, they never said no. The Arawaks had no weapons, so they were taken over. This is why we all need our personal weapons to protect themselves from the guys that are still running the show today. Columbus was so impressed with the hard work of these gentle islanders, he immediately seized their land for Spain, enslaved them to work in brutal gold mines, and within 2 years, half the population of 125,000 in the island were dead. Within 2 years, he killed off half of them through slavery. Columbus supervised the selling of native girls into sexual slavery, still goes on today. Young girls aged 9 and 10 were most desired. 100 Castellanos easily obtained for women as far as the farm, and it was very general, and there were plenty of dealers going about looking for girls. He forced these peaceful natives to work in the gold mines until they died of exhaustion. If an Indian, now the name India was because Christopher Columbus thought he was in India, and the only thing he discovered that he was lost, this is who they celebrate, a guy who couldn't even navigate, did not deliver his full quota of gold dust by Columbus's deadline, the soldiers would cut off the man's hands, tie them around his neck, and send a message to the others. Slavery was so intolerable for these sweet, gentle island people that at one point, 100 of them committed mass suicide. Catholic law forbade the enslavement of Christians, yet Columbus solved this problem. He just refused to baptize the native people of Hispaniola. On his second trip to the Newer World, Columbus brought back cannons and attack dogs. He brought back 14 galleon ships. to rape and pillage. If a native resisted slavery, he would cut off a nose or an ear. If slaves tried to escape, he'd had them burned alive. Other times he sent attack dogs to hunt them down. The dogs would tear off the arms and legs of the screaming natives while they were still alive. It was a sport. If the Spaniards ran short of meat to feed the dogs, the Arawak babies were killed to feed the dog being more important than people. This is our history, folks. This is who they want us to celebrate, and we've been celebrating. All right, on his second voyage, he came back again on 1494. 2 years later, he captured the 1,500 Tainos on the island Hispaniola, herded them over to Isabella, where 550 of the best male and females were forced to bound ships for the slave markets of Seville. Under Columbus's leadership, the Spanish attacked Tainos, sparing neither men, women, or children. Warfare, forced labor, starvation, and disease reduced Hispaniola's Taino population, estimated at 1 to 2 million people in 1492, to extinction in just 3 decades. From 1 to 2 million to extinction in 3 decades. Columbus is a hero, folks? Are you kidding me? What a bunch of bullshit. Furthermore, Columbus wrote a letter to the Spanish governor of the island Hispaniola. Columbus asked the governor to cut off the ears and the noses of any of the slaves who resisted being subjugated to slavery. It is estimated that 100 million Indians from the Caribbean, Central, South, and North America perished at the hands of the European invaders. Sadly, unbelievably, really, much of that wholesale destruction was sanctioned and carried out by the Roman Catholic Church and various Protestant denominations. All right, let's get into the naming of America, the false naming, and what is really named after.
The meaning of Amaru Ka can be deduced by examining the name of the last ruler in the bloodline of the Inca emperors, Tupac Amaru. Tupac Amaru led the final insurrection against the Spaniards in Peru from the last stronghold of the Incas in Vilcabamba, but was summarily defeated and beheaded. His name holds the key to understanding the true connotation of the word America. Steve Quayle explains. Tupac was an Incan royalty title which meant one who glows or one who shines. Amaru means serpent, Quetzalcoatl. Additionally, Amaru in the Incan language also has connotations of being a serpent connected to the subterranean or underworld. In his acclaimed work, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall, quoting Theosophist author James Morgan Price, confirms the esoteric connotation behind the word America. These children of the sun adore the plumed serpent, who is the messenger of the sun. He was the god Quetzalcoatl in Mexico, Cucumats in Quiche, and in Peru he was called Amaru. From the latter name comes our word, America. Amaru Ka is literally translated, land of the plumed serpent. In order to fully grasp the implications of America, land of the plumed serpent, we need to explore the oldest religion on earth and its connection to the mythology of the 3 greatest civilizations that once existed in the Americas: the Mayans, the Aztecs, and the Incas. Stay tuned for part 2 of this analysis. Reporting for SteveQuayle.com, I'm Timothy Alberino, and that's my analysis. The discovery of America by Christopher Columbus in 1492 is perhaps one of history's most widely promulgated and disingenuous fallacies. Not only is it now generally acknowledged that Norse Vikings discovered the continent nearly 1,000 years before Columbus, but there also exists strong evidence indicating that certain ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians and Phoenicians, had also visited America in the distant pre-Columbian past. Besides all of this, the bones of red-haired giants unearthed in both South and North America point to the obvious truth that the Native Americans were not the first to inhabit the New World. Whereas the controversies concerning the discovery of America are well known, what is not well known is the controversy concerning the naming of America. In public school, we are erroneously taught that the Americas were named after Italian explorer and cartographer Amerigo Vespucci. The term America, we are told, is derived from the Latin version of Vespucci's first name, Americus. This fallacy was bolstered by one primary source, Waldseemüller's 1507 world map entitled Universalis Cosmographia, drafted by German cartographers Martin Waldseemüller and Matthias Ringmann. The map was the first to assign a name to the New World, America, which historians have proffered as proof that the continent was christened after Vespucci, since he held more firmly to the growing consensus that this was indeed a new world, and not the Indies, as Columbus believed. However, unbeknownst to most, Vespucci was not named Amerigo until after the naming of the New World on Waldseemüller's map, as writer Jan R. Carew records. Alberigo Vespucci and I deliberately use his authentic Christian name, a Florentine dilettante and rascal, corrected Columbus's error. Vespucci declared that what Columbus had indeed stumbled on was a new world. Alberigo was undoubtedly a Florentine dilettante, and an extraordinarily clever one. Why would he otherwise have changed his Christian name after his voyage to the Americas? In other words, writes author Steve Quayle in his book True Legends, the New World wasn't named after the mapmaker, but rather the mapmaker Vespucci named himself after the New World, and his friends and historians then claimed that the Americas were named after him. One of those claims came from a Florentine bishop of the time who boasted in a letter, "And well may our new world be named America, since its discovery was due to our eminent countryman, Amerigo Vespucci." This singular line from the bishop's letter has been touted by historians as proof that America was named after Vespucci. But aside from changing his name to match Waldseemüller's map, there are many other compelling arguments against America being named after Amerigo Vespucci. For starters, even if they had intended to name the New World after him, it is highly unlikely that Waldseemüller and Ringmann would have used Vespucci's first name instead of his last, as historian Alexander Del Mar notes. Had there been any intention to name the continent after Vespucci, his surname would have been used, so that the result would have been something like Vespugia instead of Ameriga. In short, there seems to be very little room to doubt that the world has been misled through the complimentary notice of the Florentine bishop who claimed the New World was named after Vespucci. What many American historians fail to mention or realize is that Native Americans have always had their own name for the New World. Historian Alec Locker elucidates. Children in America are taught that America came from Amerigo Vespucci, the Florentine mariner. Actually, the best evidence dating back to the earliest Spanish documents following Christopher Columbus shows that part of South America, from Venezuela to Peru, was called América by the Indians of that region. At least that is what the Spaniards understood. Various spellings of América occur in Spanish documents, beginning with the visit to that land by Alonso de Ojeda, with whom Vespucci sailed in 1499. Ojeda reported that he received friendly treatment at the hands of the Indians of Maracapana. Maracapana was also written as Amaracapana, the place where Columbus landed during his voyage past Trinidad and the Orinoco River a few years before Ojeda. Apparently, the Indians called the general area América, and Pana meant country or region. Later visitors to the western regions of South America found that the Incas called their region Amaruca. It seems plausible that Waldseemüller labeled that area of the New World America, not in hone of Amerigo Vespucci, but following the Spanish name derived from what the Indians call that part of the world. America, the continental name, also derives from an Indian word. Long before Europeans began making maps of the New World, the Native Americans called their land Amaracapana, or América for short. The spelling used today, writes Steve Quayle in True Legends, appears to have resulted when English explorer Sir Walter Raleigh wrote in his journals describing the New World as the beautiful valley of Ameriocapana in 1595. A year later, Raleigh changed the spelling a bit more when describing Peru as all that tract and valley of America situated between the rivers Orinoco and Amazon. It is clear, then, that America was never named after or even by any European at all, but is an adaptation from the natives' own term, America, or alternatively, Amaru Ka. The spelling and pronunciation of the term was simply modified for European tongues, but its meaning remains the same.